Good afternoon. I promise I'll make this really easy for you. Graveyard shift, isn't it? So won't go into too much, just so that you know who we are. Zest. So we launched in 2021. We're backed by the government in terms of the Charging Infrastructure Investment Fund. So we're very secure financially. We've currently got about 1,000 chargers deployed, with 4,000 that we're rolling out, and that's across around 30, well, I'm going to say 12 authorities. It is actually 13, but I'm superstitious, so I'm going to say 12. And we do everything from 3.5 kilowatts all the way up to 300 kilowatts. So that's on-street AC, on-street rapid, as well as DC hubs and on-route car parks. So into the bit that we all want to know about, how are we doing in terms of charging in the UK? Well, I think that, there's some good stats, isn't there? We can paint a rosy picture, and we can say we're selling more EVs than we ever have done. Sales are up, and we've got September biggest number of BEV sales in any month, and we're now at 20.5% of all new car sales in September were EV. So that's great, isn't it? However, if you look at the trajectory, we're slowing down. Why is that? There's obviously lots of noise going on by OEMs. So, it's not going as well as probably what we thought. And as a charge point operator, heard from others, it's all about utilization. Our business model is fundamental principles of our business model is utilization. And it's going a little bit slower. So, what's next for the UK? And there's nothing better, is there, than kind of looking outside of the UK to see how we're doing. And just to see, who's doing well, who's not doing well. Actually, we were doing all right. If you take Norway out, we'll ignore Norway for now. I think America might not do quite as well in the future. Not sure why that is. Maybe there's a political change there. But policy change as well. But actually, we're doing all right. China, very, very good. But actually, just with lots of people in China, the percentage is still quite low. But actually, we've slowed down. And what we look at in terms of Norway, how has Norway managed to do that? Well, actually, there's a couple of main reasons why Norway have done that. It's policy and it's quite affluent. So when we look at Norway, their policy was to not tax EVs. So it's actually cheap. It's cheaper to buy an EV. If we look at electricity costs, they're not the cheapest, but they're not the most expensive. And it's an affluent country. So you pull all that together, and they're aiming for 2025. You can see when they started, but they've done it, haven't they? That's works. That policy intervention has worked. And then we look at the ZEV mandate, and we're going to miss it. We're not going to do 22%, and we're not going to do 10% on vans. Tesla will do all right, but the others, they're going to struggle. And we've heard about it, and we've heard the OEMs kind of saying this isn't fair because demand's not there. So we've got to kind of look at, well, why? What's impacting demands? Taking the costs away. Actually, infrastructure, it's not quite there. And there's some slides later on where we talk about some other Scandinavian countries that are doing really well, and they've got much better infrastructure than us, but still not enough. So there's some intervention from government with the Levi. But then how are we going to roll that? We look at 2024, or it should be 22%. Actually, look at forward. If you look at how long some of these contracts are taking to roll out. So we started on Hackney. That was a procurement that was started in 2021, was awarded in 2022, and we're still halfway through deployment. And there was no reason. There's no one's failed. Actually, it's a really good contract, so I'm not knocking it. But there's resource challenges internally within the council. There's a lot of work for councils to do when you're starting to look at consultations, certainly at scale. Smaller pilots, being successful. But when you're trying to roll out 1,000, 2,000 chargers, and you're trying to do that with internal resource of the local authority that haven't really expanded, and then you're looking at consultations, you're looking at Section 50s, you're looking at TROs, that's a lot of work to do. And then you couple that with trying to run another EV DC contract maybe in parallel, actually it slows down. So, we're looking at this, the ZEV mandate, and we're looking at actually 2028, 52% of vehicles, if they achieve it, which, if government don't back down, they're going to have to, because it's unaffordable for them probably not to do it. But look, what we're going to be in. So I'm kind of not painting a rosy picture here, but on purpose, because it's actually quite challenging when we're looking forward. And there's a few things I kind of want to say in terms of the market and investment when we're saying what's next for the UK, because it could go very, very well. But equally, we're looking at charge point operators exiting the market. So 12 months ago, you couldn't move for charge point operators. They were everywhere. I'm sure you've fed up of us by now. But they were literally everywhere. Now you've got people saying, I'm not sure this works. There's been a change, there's been a shift. The private sector went a bit crazy with everyone trying to buy contracts and market share because everybody wants to get beach fund. Charge point operators, that is great. I'll build a business, I'll sell it in 2 years, and I'm going to go to live on a beach. Hasn't happened, and it's not happening. So now investors are saying, hang on a minute, utilization is not there. So they're pulling the money out of the market. And when you look at Levi, although there's lots of government money coming in, there's not enough to make these sustainable without private sector investment. So, we've got to be really careful as an industry, and we've got to be responsible, and it's got to be sustainable. A lot of that actually, when you're looking at the procurement, is seeing through what's pipe dream, what's fake. Because I can make any commercial model work as a CPO. All I do is if I put the kilowatt price up by 5 pence, it's probably going to work, because it's so sensitive to price change. Put it by 10 pence, I can kind of make most things work. Utilization, don't really need to do much with that, I just put it up. But there's obviously a massive impact. If I put 5 pence a kilowatt, in kind of old money, if you like, in terms of petrol, 5 pence a kilowatt is probably around 40 pence a litre, depending on which EV, if it's an economical EV or not. But it's a lot, and you look at the highest tariffs at around 80 pence a kilowatt that we're seeing in the market. That's equivalent to maybe like £2.40 a litre. So it's easy to make it work, but is it sustainable? It's not. And, the rollout of AC actually, I think, is fundamental to making EV accessible for all. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for DC, there's a place for 22 kilowatts, there's a place for all of this. But the AC for me is actually what we need. We need on street, we need it for convenience. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the commercial viability of these contracts is in place. Again, what we've seen in the market is, and this is no criticism, but the local authorities, we can get a lot of revenue share from this. And again, a little bit of an insight. If you've got low utilization, let's say take a 10% revenue share, which doesn't sound a great deal, but if you've got low utilization as a CPO, that's equivalent to probably around 85% of our profit. Which then when you look at our investment, with 85% profit given away, it doesn't work. It fails. And then what we potentially into is a failed market. So I'm being quite stark on this. I mean, why not? I mean, it's 4:30, everyone wants to go home, do they? So let's just finish everybody off. But I'll come into more positives. I thought I'll start down and then we'll build back up again. So kind of, what's the current landscape look like? So, it is growing. And, when you look at, 71% of EV drivers that can't charge at home still use public charging. So there's a lot of opportunities here for CPOs and to public network. 31, I mean, again, this is debatable, but we get it at 31% of EV drivers will not have access to a home charger. So when you can combine that together, actually, there's a big demand here. And, we're going 32% of people are probably going to try and get into an EV next time they buy a car. So, and this 86%, so destinations as well as on street is important. 86% of people, I mean, everybody that came in an EV here today, if you came from far, you're going to be charging here. So, what the university is doing is actually really important, because otherwise you have to come in a nice car, because otherwise you've got to try and find a charger. I can find one on the motorway, but I don't want to pay 80 pence a kilowatt, so I'm not going to do it. So, destinations, venues, it's important that they have the infrastructure. When we look at what's important, we kind of got six key figures, and it's probably no surprise. But cheaper prices to charge. That's what's going to get people in. Reliability. But with reliability, I think is also accessibility. It can't be just, we fix a problem now, we've got chargers at work. But if people can't access them chargers, it's just as bad, isn't it? In fact, it's more frustrating, isn't it? Because you've got the nice charger there with the green light, but you can't get to it. I'd rather it not work, because at least then, it's like, well, it doesn't work. But, so again, when we're talking about accessibility and we're looking at local authority, TROs, vitally important. What we've seen from some of our contracts, certainly in Hackney, when we put a TRO in place, even though it was bare marked, when we put a TRO in place, the utilisation went up by a factor of 9. This is real. This is not guesswork. It's stats. We've got this data. Contactless payment is important. More probably so in en route and destinations. Actually, what we find is a lot of people on street, they're using the app because they're using the same charge all the time. But it's still important to have that ease of use to increase utilisation. Because once you get a charger that you like, you're probably going to go back to it if you can. So again, looking at the Netherlands, and they have actually now around the same number of BEVs as we do, and they've got 140,000 public chargings. Yet one of the concerns is the inadequacy of that network. We've got 71.5, and the exact map I saw here. They'll probably tell me if I'm wrong. But the point is, they are ahead of us, and they're still saying they need more charging infrastructure. They're also saying they need to maintain vehicle affordability, and that comes with tariff. But they also, again, it's around policy and providing incentives. We've got to do this. The government have to incentivise people to go into EV to help this to work. I do have a little bit of sympathy with the OEMs because actually the demand's not quite there yet. But then I haven't got some sympathy with OEMs because I think they're taking advantage. I don't know if anyone was in the room, but they've put a premium on the EVs. So it was very difficult to get a base level EV. The EV you got was premium. So, but we're getting around that. So that should help. So I think the future is bright. The utilisation, the ownership is going to go up. It's the trajectory that it's going to go up. So this is a bit awkward for me because I was going to have someone from the University of Warwick tell you how good Zest are, but they had to leave. So now I've got to tell you how good the University of Warwick think Zest are. I think they think we're ace actually. But if we look at the University of Warwick, and as mentioned just before I came on, it was really ambitious in terms of a project. And the numbers of chargers, we've already got 78 already live today, and that's going to increase. We're doing more. There was a change, in terms of going from free vend to having people pay for it. Now that's happening in a lot of areas. It's happening in local authorities, and actually it's quite nice, isn't it, getting free charging? But times have got to change because as time goes, it's a lot of kilowatts that's being given away. What was really important for this to work was the partnership. We've worked well together because whatever network you think you're going to have, it won't be like that. Whatever you think, right, we're going to put the chargers here, here, and here, it's not going to happen because there'll be so many issues with power, possibly even, and they take the University of Warwick, even just shutting power down in certain venues is going to be problematic. So how do we work together to say, well, actually, okay, well, let's move the charger from here to here. It's the premise is finding a good CPO that's going to work with you, that's not going to be too tight contractually, has a bit of flexibility built in so that you can flex and adapt. And provide the right infrastructure, the right chargers to match the dwell times, because ultimately that's what's going to make it successful for everybody. When you kind of roll out, in terms of the investment, there's a significant investment from the private sector. Actually, for University of Warwick, it's fully funded by the private sector. So we're taking all this risk in deploying. We will have over 100 sockets. in the university campus. And we're taking all that risk. But at the same time, we're working with the university to say, well, can we move this? And the university also saying, you said you were going to put one there, we asked for it, but actually, can we have one over here? And we're saying, yeah, that's fine. So, we are working together. I think that's the kind of the resounding message is, collaboration, partnership is how we'll make this work together. But do listen to the industry, because we're not saying things just because we want to make more money. Actually, we're saying things because we want to be sustainable. And if we fail, actually, what we do is we fail for the country and the transition to EV. We've got to give everyone confidence that this is actually a sustainable industry and a sustainable EV network. So I think I may have just overrun, but look, we can get some drinks now, I think, can't we? Oh, was it two? Oh, one more left. Sorry. I can get some drinks. Right. Thank you.